Hi, Norman with iSaveTractors.com. In the past, I made a video showing you how to set your ignition point gap to 20 thousandths of an inch. 20 thousandths of an inch is an appropriate gap setting for most Kohler K-Series engine applications. However, there are some instances where you need a more precise way to time your ignition. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do that. Before we begin, let's go over the tools we're going to need to do this. I'm going to be using this electric multimeter set to continuity. I'm going to use 2 alligator clips and 2 screwdrivers. Here are the timing marks that we're concerned about when precisely setting the ignition timing for your Kohler K-Series engine. The first timing mark is this little raised line here located on the bearing plate. You can also see this line through a peephole that's located on the side of your blower housing. I'll show you that in a moment. The other timing mark is this S and this T. The S represents 20 degrees before top dead center, and that is the moment where precisely your points begin to open up, initiating the spark. The T represents top dead center. Now, these timing marks on the flywheel are not always this easy to see. I've actually written over them with a black Sharpie so we can find it easier. To find your timing marks, you look on the flywheel that's closest to the engine. So for this particular flywheel, it's on the bottom, and even if your flywheel has a ring gear like on this one for an electric start machine, it's still located in this kind of section closest to where the engine would be. Now, these timing marks are actually indented into the flywheel, and it may be hard to find because of built-up rust over the years, but they are there, and you just have to carefully look for them. The S mark is actually right here above my finger. I'm going to try to get it in the camera so you can see it. I recommend, if you ever have the flywheel off of the engine, to take a piece of Sharpie or a marking pen and just write a line right over where that hash mark is for the S and T marks. That will make your life a lot easier when you need to find it down the future. So now that you know where the timing marks are, let's move over to our machine and set the timing. The machine we're working with today is this Ford LGT 165 garden tractor.
Okay, first things first. First, I lift the hood, remove that side panel so I can access the side of the engine. And now you just remove 2 screws to remove the points cover and expose the points. Also, for safety reasons, you want to make sure there's no power going through your system by removing the negative lead off of your battery. And to improve accuracy when using your multimeter, you also want to disconnect the lead that goes from the points to the negative side of the ignition coil, as illustrated in this photo. Now, using the alligator clips, you're going to connect 1 lead of your multimeter to ground and 1 lead to your points. Here is the sight hole in the side of the blower housing I mentioned earlier. After you connect your multimeter, you want to turn the engine by hand in a clockwise motion when facing the flywheel. You want to turn the flywheel until that S mark lines up with that raised line in the bearing plate. Now that our timing marks are lined up, we want to turn our multimeter to the continuity setting and loosen the adjustment screw in the points bracket so the contacts close. This will cause your multimeter to give off a constant tone. Okay, let's freeze this frame right here so I can explain to you what we're going to do next without that annoying beeping sound in the background. Now that we've adjusted the points so the contacts are closed, your multimeter is going to give out a constant tone. Now, in my left hand, I have a little screwdriver, and in my right hand, I have another screwdriver. The left-handed screwdriver is in the points adjustment screw. I'm going to loosen that up so I can use my right-hand screwdriver to gently pry on the little notch that is on the point bracket. I'm going to gently open that point gap until that beep from the multimeter begins to go away. Now, you want to turn it very gently. You want to turn it to the point where the beeping almost becomes intermittent. And it's going to take a little practice, but you want to turn it so it's just barely not touching each other anymore. Now that I'm happy with where my setting is, I'm going to tighten that adjustment screw and test this by hand. I test this by going back to the flywheel, turning it counterclockwise so that S mark is away from the timing mark on the bearing plate, and there should be a tone when I do that coming from my multimeter. Now I'm going to slowly turn the flywheel by hand clockwise until that S mark lines up with the bearing plate, and then at that precise moment the tone should go away. This is what it looks like. And just for kicks, I measured the point gap when the points were open to their widest position, and it measures 20 thousandths of an inch. Now let's put it all back together, fire it up, and see how it runs. As you can see, the engine starts and runs great. I started this when it was about 40 degrees, and it runs fantastic. Hey, if you want to buy high-quality aftermarket ignition points and condensers like the ones I'm working with in this video, please check out our website, iSaveTractors.com. We carry a ton of high-quality aftermarket parts for all of your vintage small engines, such as your Kohler K-Series, Briggs & Stratton Tecumseh, Wisconsin, and soon-to-be Onan engines. My name is Norman. Thanks for watching.